I'm here to talk about love, talk about acceptance, to talk about win-win solutions. 10 years ago, I wrote an article for the Plain Dealer that also appeared on the Cleveland Forum, and I'm going to read that to you before I talk about what I want to talk about today. It's been over 20 years, more than 30 now, since the program director of a local radio station called me into his office to tell me that as long as he was there, I would never be allowed on the air again. As a substitute talk show host, I had to come up with controversial topics to get listeners to call the show. On that day, I'd elected to ask the question, should we consider withholding part of our foreign aid to Israel until they agree to negotiate with the Palestinian Liberation Organization? I thought I had a unique perspective, having been denied my Jewish heritage as a result of the virulent anti-Semitism led by American hero Henry Ford earlier in the century. I believed I could manage a thoughtful discussion about Israel's safety, anti-Semitism, and fairness for the Palestinians. I guess my boss didn't think so. A year or so later, the Israelis did finally agree to negotiate with the Palestinians' chosen representatives, the PLO. But here we are 2 decades, now 3, 2 decades later, and still Israel occupies Palestinian lands. A strong right-wing movement has grown up in Israel that believes all of Palestine should belong to an exclusively Jewish state. Tens of thousands of Israelis have moved into Palestinian territory and established settlements, using all kinds of legal, bureaucratic mechanisms to claim land and water. Successive Israeli governments have supported the settler, colonizing movement, while officially paying lip service to a two-state solution, which the movement opposes. Now, there was a time during the first 35 years of Israel's existence when Israelis genuinely had to worry about invasion from multiple Arab armies and the total extinction of the nation. In fact, along with many other Americans before the 6 Days War, I was willing to go help Israel defend itself. Now, objective observers agree. There is no current government in the Arab or Muslim world that would seriously consider invading Israel. Why? Well, mainly because the heavily militarized Israel would easily destroy their armies, their economies, and their cities. Would Egypt invade? Saudi Arabia? Syria? Iraq? Iran? Don't bet on it. It is the military-industrial complex of Israel and right-wing politicians, along with American politicians of all stripes, which keeps this paranoia of invasion as the operating principle behind most Israeli policy. This aura of fear shapes the worldview of the majority of the Israeli public and makes it possible to justify the actions of their government. So once more, as some misguided Palestinian militants use violence to justifiably fight for their independence and statehood, Israel uses its overwhelming firepower to not only attack the militants, but to kill hundreds of innocent civilians. At this writing, the Israeli army has shelled at least one hospital, killing its patients, and well over 100 children have been murdered by the bombs and guns of our closest ally. This asymmetrical battle is a repeat of a battle from a few years ago when the Israeli military killed over 1,000 innocent civilians. Fewer than 1 in 5 of the casualties in that fight were armed fighters. It looks like Israeli guns will produce an even worse result this time around. Now, rather than leading the UN Security Council in condemning Israel's behavior, our government provides justification for the invasion and the inevitable results. Isn't it about time we change the rules of our relationship with our dear friends? Can we continue to accept them doing things that we would not accept from any other nation? It's one thing to accept a democratic Israel defending its citizens within the approximate 1967 borders and to commit our lives and our fortune protecting our trusted allies' right to exist free from the aggression of any other nation. It's another to continue to support Israel as an occupying military power that withholds the same freedoms its people cherish from Palestinian families. And it's still another to accept the needless slaughter of those families. The question remains, will the United States government begin to challenge our friends when they are wrong and stand for freedom and democracy for all, everywhere, or only where it's convenient? The occupation must end now. The hearts of free people everywhere demand it. So here we are, 10 years later. Israel is still occupying Palestinian land, refusing to negotiate a viable two-state solution, and again, bombing the daylights out of Gaza, killing many thousands of innocent men and women and children, along with the Hamas combatants they eliminate. Hamas, a terrorist organization that the Israeli government originally supported to be a competitor of the PLO, has again committed more atrocities, more damaging, more horrendous than any before. This cycle of oppression and violence must stop. Israel must recognize that the Palestinians aren't going anywhere because it's their land too. It's up to the Israeli government to get serious about ensuring a mostly peaceful future for their citizens. To do this, they must commit to a realistic, viable, two-state solution. There is no other road to peace, no other road to love. Free the Palestinians, end anti-Semitism everywhere. Everybody needs justice and liberty from the river to the sea. I'm River Smith, a troublemaking eco-feminist punk with a comment for Liberation Brew and Satyagraha Arts.